Hey guys, welcome to Hope It Helps. My guest on the show today is Miss Salina Yeung. Salina, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me, Hachlat. Right before the show, I am learning how to pronounce Khaled
There
name,
you go.
so I'm going to just like go ahead and try it. I hope I do not butcher and your audience would not hate me.
No, no, not at all. I appreciate it just as I do. So, Selena, welcome to the show. For the people who don't know, so me and Selena connected through LinkedIn, and I found out about her through some mutual connections we had. And Selena runs her own academy called the In Academy. She's a previous worker at LinkedIn, and she decided to take all that knowledge and experience and now works with companies and professionals to help them build their brands, increase sales, and much, much more. And her content is really engaging. I've definitely learned a lot from it, just watching the short videos she does and some white papers and stuff. So I thought it'd be amazing to have her on the show, especially now when everyone's trying to look for a job. People want to increase, companies want to increase sales so many different ways. And LinkedIn is a platform that's become so important and so powerful that I think having an expert on the show that could teach us all the ins and outs of how to use it and, how should we be thinking about it would be super useful. But before we get into everything, Selena, why don't you give all of us a little bit of background about yourself and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me at the show again. And I'm really excited to the conversation ahead. And to a little bit about me, like your perfect introduction. I'm Salina Yeung, AKA I like to call it your LinkedIn girl and LinkedIn expert. I used to work for the platform as their account director at the LinkedIn Marketing Solution, which is a business team for a couple of years. And in the middle of COVID, I wanted to reunite with my family. And slowly after, I founded the In Academy and moved to Europe, which is where I'm based now. And now I'm working with entrepreneurs, side hustlers, and different B2B brands to unlock their full potential on LinkedIn and skyrocket their online presence, social engagement, as well as generating like sales and high quality leads.
Awesome. So thank you for sharing that with us. So I wanted to start before you started working at LinkedIn, because it sounds like that's where you got, that kind of led you to where you are right now and learning about the platform and the power of it. So
So true.
before you started at LinkedIn, what was your perspective on LinkedIn? Did you think it was useful? Did you understand the concept of like social selling and branding? Just walk us through what were your thoughts before compared to now going through that experience, how you feel right now.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I would say LinkedIn is really mysterious for me before I joined. I actually are the pretty preliminary members who joined at LinkedIn roughly around 2013 or even 2014, which is they don't have a huge audience or huge members yet, but I do see the value of the platform, but I really use it as an online resume because friends are telling me like, hey, Selena, go to the platform. They have great jobs there, great opportunity, and it's like a professional network. And I like it and I attracted to it because obviously we have Facebook. Instagram is big, but at the same time, I don't really click to the platform by then. So I never really feel there's a need for sort of growing my presence on Instagram. But I sort of understand that social platform I can post friends pictures, post today, having broadcast with you, right? But something really drawn to me about LinkedIn. And slowly after in 2018, I got a headhunter from LinkedIn, a talent acquisitioner, reach out to me and asked me whether I will be interested to join the team. So that's how everything sort of began. But to your point, the perspective of branding, I know it's important. I understand the power of social media. I also know it's important to have a strong online presence, but I did not take action by then, building my own personal branding, amplifying my voice through social selling. So right after I joined LinkedIn, I learned through daters. One of the very shocking LinkedIn internal data is that 78% of people that are using social to sell are ahead of their peers who are not using social.
Wow.
So these are all the things that I learned so much through sort of working there. And the data just shocked me so much of how much I do not utilize it. when I don't know about social selling as well as the power personal branding.
Sure, sure. And that I guess that makes a lot of sense because for that number, 78%, that's a huge number. So it kind of just,
Absolutely.
speaks to you and shows you that, wow, there actually is a lot of work that can be done here that can, help us help us move forward in whatever you're trying to do. But I'm curious, so when you were at LinkedIn, you were an account director, right? So what, as an account director, what does that role entail? Is it working with businesses to get them onto LinkedIn, or like talent solutions? Or because I'm trying to see how does it compare from what you did then to what you're doing right now?
Right now. Yeah. Oh, I love that question. So there's four business solution. I like that you mentioned talent solution is obviously the bread and butter. And the marketing solution is actually their second strongest strength, which is advertising. So I have been working as a marketer and sales background for the longest time.
Okay.
And this is perfect role because it's dynamic. I'm selling advertising solution, but at the same time, I need to know the basis of marketing, especially B2B marketing. So my role is as first the brand ambassador, basically everybody working at LinkedIn or the brand ambassador. And B is to sell advertising solution to B2B companies to sort of like leverage it. And obviously, a lot of people might come to you, or you have heard about, oh, Salina, the CPC, all the advertising costs are so expensive on LinkedIn. It's true, but at the same time, because they're not really looking at the revenue, they're always looking at the number of leads. So this is where I come in. And my role right now, to your point, as an entrepreneur, these are all transferable skill set that I learned that it helps me a lot. And I echo so much with you when, Kelly, you told me about you're a salesperson in Amsterdam, working for corporates and some of the really amazing giant startup as well. And I can feel that transferable skills really entice you to your success right now as your own boss as well as a broadcaster and helping different people and coach them with how successful it is to being present online.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like, I think you made a good point that about the transferable skills. I think having a background in sales and marketing, for that matter, it really does open you up to a lot of different things. Because they're like, I call them, people call them soft skills or people skills. It's how do you, sell to someone? How do you market to someone? So, and especially when you're launching a business, those skills do come in very handy because you already have that background. So,
Yeah.
when you were talking about, you said you wanted to, when COVID happened, you wanted to leave, you wanted to be closer, to your family. So what made you decide then to actually start this business and to decide, I've learned what I can at LinkedIn, and I think there's a niche in the market that I feel I can have, a lot of impact with?
Oh, I love that question. And obviously, I mean, Khalid, you have been following my content and I've been keep sharing my stories and nothing that I shy away from it. So in the middle of COVID, it was really tough because I've been having this long distance relationship with my husband and I couldn't basically jump on the plane and next day seeing him. And so I decided to quit LinkedIn. And it was really tough because it's a very high paying job. It's very stable. And I have built amazing relationship with my colleague as well as my peers that working at LinkedIn. And I'm still learning a lot. So it's to me, it's a crazy move, but deep down, I know it's a thing that I have to do. And so I go ahead and do it. But little did I know, I mean, I know the potential of the platform, but I never thought I'm going to jump the gun and start something about LinkedIn. I'm in sort of like a discovery stage right after I quit the job. I have that like really weird pivotal moment where you're like, oh shit, what am I doing right now? And looking at my bank account, I did not save a lot. What's going on? Everything else. Just basically my impulsive syndrome, me just have been attacking me, right? And I don't know what to do. And I moved to this new country in Luxembourg, which they speak primarily Luxembourgish, French, German, which I don't speak none of this European language. And it was really tough for me to find a marketing and sales job because you need to speak the language. So yeah, so it was really tough. And so I started to blog, and I'm not even good at blogging. That's the thing. And I started to sort of share a little bit of some of the inside tips of how you should be using LinkedIn and how other people are seeing it in the wrong way. Like, for example, I did it too, like just an online CV, but there's so much more you can leverage it with. And like you and me connected through LinkedIn, like building relationship is another thing that I see a huge thing that I again gain so much friends, new friends, and community around that. So yeah, so I would say the blog, and then somehow that becomes a present that some of the people know. Oh, Salina, you're no longer at LinkedIn, so what do you do now? I was like, oh, I opened this company called LinkedIn Pro, so it's not the academy yet, and I just got my first client, and then second client coming, and then third slowly after start rolling. So everything happened for a reason, I would say.
No, for sure. I love that it started as a, the company came out of something that you weren't planning to do, but you want to be closer to your family, and then you moved to a new country and all these kind of things, and you just started doing something. And as time went on, you have your expertise and you're able to leverage that and grow your business to where it is now. So that's awesome. I love that story. And I think there's
Thank
so many
you.
stories like that that people start from somewhere. They watch something one day, they're like, okay, maybe I'll just start doing this. And then 2 years down the line, they have a business, it's running. So I really, really like that story. So coming on
Thank
to
you.
the In Academy. So you help individuals either get a job and do their personal branding or corporate branding and increase sales. Now, in your experience, you've been going now for, I believe, 2 years with the business, and you probably worked with lots of different clients for different reasons. Out of those three, which have you found to be, I guess, the one that's most challenging?
Wow, this is great. So, first of all, we're transitioning a little bit, that we're no longer helping people to find jobs. So we're
Okay.
targeting really entrepreneurs as well as coaches to do it. But to your really interesting question, I would say, which is the most challenging? I would say they are all achievable. Basically, it's not a challenge only if the clients are willing to change their mindset and go ahead and sort of like committed or determined to make a positive change in their life. Something that as a coach I could guide them, fast track them with the result. I can show them a really good framework, but by the end of the day, everything is achievable if you set your mind to it. Just like you also moved to a new country and then moved back to your awesome home and started your own business and gig, right? It needs to have certain mentality as well as mindset that you set in doing that, and very successful. There's nothing you can go back with. Then you're determined to go ahead and make that happen. So I would say everything is achievable if you set your mind to it.
No, I resonate with that a lot, and I totally agree, especially in the part that you can't go back, so the only way is forward, and if you have the right mindset, you can get there. So the reason I was asking that question, because from my perspective, I was thinking, I'm like, okay, building a brand, I can understand how that would be. Like you said, they're all challenging and they are all achievable, but and from my perspective, I would think that probably finding a job would be the hardest one, because I just feel there's so much competition, because finding a job also falls into your personal brand. Like if you go on someone's profile before my CV, like who is
Absolutely.
Salina, who is Khalid, so there's a lot more moving parts to that. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I would say so. And I would also say, like I share with you, the shift between the business model. I think just like 6 months ago, we decided no longer taking any clients that is coming to us with finding a job. Perhaps is more. I felt like the transformation is not as huge that I want from my clients, and I think ultimately they have their eyes for a certain company,
Exactly.
yet that might not be the perfect path for them. Despite I have seen what has happened, but because you're a coach, you can only advise them with the most honest opinion, yet it might not be the perfect approach for them moving forward, right? So yeah, so to your point, I would say then getting a job is more challenging. The transformational hurdle, it's more difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you mentioned a great point that it's because when you're finding a job, that's a very, I think, personal kind of thing. It's not like when I'm a business and I'm trying to increase sales. It's a, I'm much more open, but with jobs, it's a personal thing. You're a bit more selective, and like you said, it's you can only guide them. With the
Yeah.
other avenues, you probably can have a bit more of an input, in making them successful. So on that point, let's say me and you started working together. I'm your client, and I'm like, how do I then how would you advise me to measure my success? Like, how would I know that, Selena, I've been doing what you told me for the past month, 2 months, and I don't know if I'm on the right track. So what maybe could you tell us, how would you measure success? And number two is, what are some good maybe indicators that I'm on the right track?
Sure. I love that question because you know me as a data girl. So two things you need to first look at is it's only accessed by anybody from LinkedIn. It's called the private to you dashboard. It's so simple. It's right under your profile and it's blue. Everything is white. It's under your summary and they will give you three data. But ignore those three data on the top right. There's an all star. If you have that, kudos to you, which means you have completed the foundation of LinkedIn profile, which you have recommendation, headline, summary, everything else. But you don't have the all star. That means you are not basically fully optimized the foundation of it. And I will
Yeah.
tell you this really crazy data. If you're not an all-star profile on LinkedIn, all the posts that you're posting on LinkedIn, it will have a decreased reach
Really?
if you're posting it. That's really sad, right?
Yeah.
So that's like basically the most simple things to start with. Second is the social selling index. I have been a huge advocator when it comes to social selling index. It's totally open for any members to check their score. If you are below 65 of the score, again, that will hurt like your profile, getting search appearance when people are searching for you. Then it will be something that it's difficult for them to find you as well. So profile visibility, as well as obviously social selling, which is whether you have built a good, strong personal brand. So these are the two that I will start with. Other metrics I love to look for my clients is how many people viewed your profile over the past 90 days. So it's back to the private dashboard, those three numbers, but the very first one. So just to put a number to it, I think a healthy number should be somewhere around 2,000 views over 90 days. Then I would say that's a pretty solid LinkedIn profile. And then obviously later when it comes to sort of nitty gritty of whether you're strong is to basically amplifying your thought leadership or what I call it, the voice of authority, which you need to start posting things, which is engagement rate. And the last is the search appearance, which if a good profile, done an amazing, fantastic job, people will be able to find you. For example, Kali, I can find you very easily on LinkedIn because you have done an amazing job on LinkedIn and your SEO, which is search engine optimization, have been optimized. So whenever I'm finding a podcaster in Dubai, you will be the, first few that will appear. So these are a couple of things that would really prove how strong and successful you have built an online presence on LinkedIn.
Okay, that's really interesting because I'm aware of all the things you've spoken about, but I guess I didn't have the data behind it to judge even for myself. I'm like, am I good? Am I bad? I know I have the all-star profile. I have, a couple of things. I know I'm okay, but I'm like, but this is good to know that now I have at least some numbers to go back to test myself against. See, okay, that's interesting. That's really cool. And so I had a while ago, I had someone on the podcast who was also ex LinkedIn. He was the I think the director of sales for all of Middle East and Africa. And he gave me
Amazing.
he was so nice. He actually gave me a full like LinkedIn 1 hour masterclass, and he walked me through like spacing, like your profile picture, like your name, like the audio, like all these little like tweaks to like improve your profile. So I have an idea about a couple of them, but as you know, each platform, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, have its own algorithm and its own way that it works, to increase engagement, to increase views. So in your expert opinion, is there I guess, a feature or something in the algorithm that either is very easy to people, it's very easy to use and people aren't using it, or is there one that no one is really aware of and that could have a huge, impact for them?
Yeah, absolutely. But very quickly, back to your previous point, I just want to tiptoe on that because that's great that you have that conversation with the director of sales who is looking after Africa market. I heard. I also have like a free resource for any of the audience that is listening to today's. Feel free to go to the inacademy.com. It's a complete free resource that you can download. It's like a full list of sharing with you how you can be all-star LinkedIn profile, but on top of it, I want all your audience to be a rock star LinkedIn profile.
That's
So
awesome.
we'll give you a deep dive with a whole complete list, what is missing, what needs to be done, as well as actionable next step. So I hope that is helpful. But back to your great point, I love talking about algorithm because obviously LinkedIn have been changing so crazily. And just to very quickly share with you, LinkedIn polls are crazy right now. So whoever that is listening to this podcast right now, please try LinkedIn polls. It's going viral at the moment. I was sharing with my clients the other day. It's his very first time posting on LinkedIn, and he got 2,000
Wow.
engagement. 2,000. That's a lot for
That's
LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all professional, and then got almost like 9,000 views of that. So LinkedIn post is good. And that go to the main gist of your amazing question is that specific things that is underutilized is drill time. So what's dwell time means? I think a lot of platform have that, but I think that is onto not fully being utilized in a user perspective. So this LinkedIn dwell time means members' content on the newsfeed when Holly, when you're
You're
going
scrolling.
through the
Yeah.
newsfeed, you're strolling, right? And that's basically the time distribute spend. So a little bit of background, like LinkedIn core value is to basically focusing on putting members first, day in and day out, helping each other to show the world who they are and make the most out of it, right? So LinkedIn really value members' time. So in order to do that, as Newsfeed, they control a little bit, a couple of indicator to measure dwell time is when we slow down while we're scrolling on our home newsfeed page. That's how dwell time works. The other thing is when we click on the pieces of content with the see more button, then that's how dwell time will work in place as well. And last but not least is how long do you spend on that content before you bounces away to something else. So if a person or member have a fantastic content that could hold a little bit of the dwell time, then that content will have a higher performing engagement.
Okay, I had no idea about dwell time. I'm familiar about the see more part, and I guess it makes sense now why that would play into dwell time. But yeah, because I know on TikTok they have something. It's kind of similar called watch time. If a video is 30 seconds, how many
Yeah.
people have watched it for how long? But I didn't know LinkedIn had one too. That's really interesting. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And so on that point, so I just want to share from my experience because I'm curious to see what you'd say. So I've noticed in the posts that I do, number one, if it's text, always 90% of the time it has more, it's viewed more times. But I know that doesn't necessarily mean it's engaged with more times. So I'm aware of that. Video seems to be, because I see some videos and they have incredible engagement rates. The ones I've done haven't, done that well. So that's why I've been kind of sticking to text a bit more. So if you're like, advising me or, a client and they're in a similar situation to me, what is the what should I be looking for when I post? You know, what's the kind of engagement that would tell me that was a good post? Is it comments? Is it likes? Is it shares? I'm still not very familiar with what would be the best option for that.
Love that. Comments at all time, because LinkedIn wants people to drive conversation, as you can see
Okay.
all over their like blog, all over their press. Everything is about driving meaningful conversation. You can see that like if you just basically click Command Shift F on their LinkedIn, like driving conversation is perhaps will pop 10 times on the landing page. So driving conversation is the very first thing that the platform wanted to do. So comments weighted way heavier than any of those engagement
Okay.
um, that happen. Yeah.
Okay.
And they also have engagement quality as well behind the algorithm, which perhaps like, for example, Halil, I check out your amazing content. If I just like leveraging through like what Facebook or Instagram is doing with thumbs up or just an emoji, that engagement content, sorry, quality score will be very low. Whereas if I write a longer sentence, really reacting to you plus tagging you back, then that will really help your content a lot. Yeah, I
Okay.
hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, no, that makes a lot of sense. And you know, listening to that explanation, I'm thinking back, you know, to my post metrics and stuff. That actually does, like, if I remember the posts that had the most comments, those are the ones that were viewed the most times. Those are the ones that were most successful. So no, that makes perfect sense. And coming on to,
Yeah,
so this is a debate, this is something, this is, you know, the famous debate I think people have when you're creating any type of content. But let's talk about LinkedIn in particular. So I follow Gary V, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and his always, no matter what platform, his,
everyone.
yeah, everyone, exactly, his thing has always been, he's always pushed, it's about, it's capture, you know, don't create. Like just be consistent with posting content. So he's about more, I guess, quantity than quality. Where do you fall on that debate? Is it, you know, should I post 5 times a week? That is okay, maybe not bad, but not the best kind of content. Or if I did 3 like fantastic, really, you know, worked on posts, what would you say? Is it quality? Is it quantity? I know it's a combination of the two, of course, but what would you say if you had to, you know, follow one side?
I was about to exactly answer you like the Swiss answer, which is I don't think it shouldn't be a debate. If I really had to choose, I think I would do consistency as well.
Okay.
But I do always share with my clients and my audience, your first video, your first post is not going to be stellar. Your first LinkedIn poll might fail. Your first video might flop. Nothing is perfect, but you always need to strike a balance, right? Not to do it, scare of failure, of go ahead and do it and capture as many data as you can, right? And I love using the word experimenting more than anything else, because the more that you experiment, you will find a lot about yourself as well as how your audience love to sort of see you showing up, whether it's more about your story or more about educational content that you teach them about, you know, how to run a successful podcast like you, or business things, business entrepreneur sort of motivation things, or what it is going to be, right? So experiments is the key here, but also really consistency, right? You need to basically show up. Like you can't be one week show up for 5 days and then next week, bam, you're off the grid, right? So I do see the beauty of that, but not to say that you need to take a discount in terms of the
Mm,
quality of the content though. And
yeah.
always think about, okay, before I press post, is this something that I am proud of or my audience would like to see? If that's a big yes, go ahead and press that. So this is sort of my take. I hope
Sure.
that's not like too Swiss of an answer.
No, no, it's a great answer, and I think the point you made about right before you post, ask yourself the question is that, is it, you know, would my audience engage this, or am I proud of this piece of content? I think that's always a good you know, indication of whether you're happy with it or not. You know, it's like, would I read this post? Would I watch this video? Yes. Okay, cool. Go ahead. If not, maybe take a step back and do that. And I think I saw one of your posts that, because a lot of people say the challenge of being consistent is the creation of consistent content, that's new and so on. And I saw one of your posts. It was about, and it was 5 key elements, and I thought they were really, really great. Something motivational, a personal story, work experience. There was two more that I'm not really familiar with. But do clients, even if like you gave a client those five things, sorry, I'm missing two of them. I feel sometimes if you're trying to create content consistently, even if I have the framework, it can still be, it's like, okay, I know I have to post about this, but now it's that, what do I post? You know what I mean? It becomes, and then you can get like overwhelmed and you
Absolutely.
don't post and so
I
on. So
mean,
how
me
do you go through
too.
that? Yeah.
Everybody does. So you mean like how do I like
I,
without following the framework, but still being able to consistently posting it, right?
yeah.
I would say more like sometimes if you really don't feel like posting, don't do it. Nobody is going to basically put a gun into your face and like remember to post today, you're missing that day. No. Just I think always looking back to yourself. One of I wouldn't say is a strategies, but one thing that I've been practicing and it helps me so much, it's batching content. So
Okay.
what's badging content means, and I call it the badging for brilliance for my clients. What's badging brilliance for mean is you can do it bi-weekly basis. If you think is too crazy, do it weekly basis. I do it monthly. So 1 month of one day, let's say the end of the month or the start of the month, I will have the whole day block. Nobody can access me. Only my VA could call me. That's it. And I would have a really comfortable space with my coffee, with my tea, and then just to batch content. Think about this month. What are some of the content that I really want to post? And then following the framework that I have. And obviously, that day will be where I will produce roughly around 20 pieces or even 30 pieces. So by the time you started needed to post, you don't need to worry that you don't have the content. So I hope that is helpful in terms of like putting a structure in place. And if that day I woke up, I have confirmed that day is badging for brilliance, content day for Salina, and I don't feel like it, then I need to move it to another day because that's it's really tied to how you feel that day. And I know it's really difficult, I would say. I try a couple of exercises with my clients. Some of it really works for a month. Some really just scale it back a little bi-weekly and weekly. But they all tell me the same. Like after really implementing this approach, they would no longer have a moment where like I need to post, I don't know what to post, and then just like have this keyboard freezing moment for an hours and hours, wasting more time. So I would put this as a structure.
For sure. And I've definitely had those, keyboard freezing moments myself, I must say. But I think that's a great approach because it removes, you've identified one day and it's like your plan day. I'm gonna make everything today, and then it's literally just clicking a button and posting. There's no more, you don't have to think
Absolutely.
about it. There's no more creativity that you have to come up with on the day. So, like you said, bi-monthly or bi-weekly, depending whatever works for you. I think that's a really great idea and really, really great advice that a lot of people could use. And I think I need to also start using myself for the stuff I do.
Thank you.
Salina, I want to be conscious of our time. So just have a couple more questions for you. Number one
Sure.
is what have you found to be, or what do you see is the biggest mistake people are making on LinkedIn? Because I think besides algorithm, besides like posts, I think there's a mistake that is very common that people might be making and they're not really aware of it. So what would you say you've seen is like maybe the one or two biggest mistakes that people are making?
Yeah, the very first one, I would say, it's very sad.
Okay.
It's they thought building a strong online presence brand happens overnight. That's some of the conversation, and even I saw in other people's posts. They're like, I don't understand this. Like back to like your point, right? Like algorithm, all these these shouldn't be things that you should be learning right now. Start doing, optimizing your profile, start from building a strong all-star LinkedIn profile, then you move up. That's how everybody started. So success doesn't happen overnight, and it's not a short-term thing when it comes to building personal branding. That's why when I talk about whether it's achievable, everything, it's back to your mindset, right? If you think you are dedicated or committed to making this really successful, you will go ahead and make it happen. And that's the only thing a strong personal branding can carry with you, no matter which stage of the life you're at, right? So look at what we talk about Gary Vee, think about Tony Robbins, Richard Benson, all these people doesn't come success overnight. It's a lot of hard work, and that's the personal branding really is. So I do think that's like a common mistake. Everybody coming to a platform feeling that next day they're going to be boom, 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
I mean, there would be perhaps 0.01% chance that you could be that person, but not that I see it very often. So I would see this is the number one mindset adjustment. A couple of things that I think I've been sharing throughout is really not fully optimizing the LinkedIn profile, not forgetting about certain section that really are missing out from your LinkedIn, like recommendation, which I constantly address. That's like the best social proof when someone is going to your profile, like, oh, Hallie, I'm so drawn to what you're saying about the headline, summary, blah, 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 and then scroll down and see your recommendation. They will feel even more credible to work with you, right? Because you obviously have that amazing present online. So I would say not fully optimizing our profile. Smaller things that I see common mistake is that not being authentic, trying to be somebody else, which is quite common when you see someone's post, they're copying each other and trying to be another person. The other thing might be you have saw it happen, or someone done it to you as well. They sell it right away through the email, right? The minute they connect with you, they just like buy this, buy that, and then send tons of links about their website, and you just get pulled off. Like, who would love to get sell to like this? You need to build the relationship. You need to build the trust. So yeah, these are three common mistakes that I see throughout the platform.
Sure. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and for the audience. I think those are really important things because, like we said, you might not be aware you're doing it. I think the point about, especially personal branding, you're not going to have the following, you're not going to have that presence online overnight. It's going to take a long time to, build that credibility. Also, on your point about recommendations, I never had any in the past. And then I had someone on the podcast who told me, he's like, Khalid, you should ask your guests to write your recommendations after coming on your show. And I'm like, that's a great idea. And like you said, when you scroll, and that's one of the first things I go to on someone's profile. I'm like, okay, let's see what other people have said about them. And it really does add a lot of credibility to whatever, area you're in, whatever type of person you are, your personal brand. So that's a fantastic one. And like you said,
absolutely,
starting with the basics, make sure the profile is optimized at least to the minimum for you. Don't worry about algorithms. Don't worry about all that kind of stuff. Just get the basics right. And then once that's all in place, you can start moving on, and adapting and getting better and so on. So I think that's really, really good advice. And I think a lot of people could really use that. So
I know it's a lot of tough love there.
No, listen.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but
right?
sometimes
I was
you need it.
telling a lot of clients sometimes exactly like
Yeah.
tough love and shake them a little and understanding it's not time to understand the aggro. But before that, having like this basis so that you can build on top of it, then you'll be able to get that success for sure.
100%. Totally agree with you. And for my last two questions, Salina, these are questions I ask all my guests. So number one, looking back at your career at LinkedIn, what you're doing within Academy, or maybe in your personal life, what would you say you're most proud of for yourself?
Wow, I love that. Take the leap of faith. I never thought I would start my own company, right? I was telling you all these crazy stories, but at the same time, I never thought I would open my own company. I was thinking about working for a cool company forever and just, being one of the chips in this humongous machine that it's already very well oiled. Next day somebody can replace me, right? And so I would say taking the leap of faith, it's something that I'm super proud of, as well as really relationship building. It's one of the things that I take pride on a lot. Like whenever whoever that engaged with me on LinkedIn, I make sure they're well taken care of, and I follow through some of the relationship building over there. Most of my clients also become friends with me, which is something even bonus out of a relationship. So I would say like these two are the things that if I can choose, I would do it over and over again.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really love those, like they say, it's the fact that your business also allows you to build relationships with people, and that you had no plan to start a business and circumstances happen, you took a chance on yourself and here you are right now. That's really, really awesome. And I love that story. And for my last
Absolutely.
question, what is the message you'd like everyone to take home with them today?
Wow. Ooh, tons of message we have talked about. If for LinkedIn, I would say really start working on the personal branding right now. No more procrastination. It's today, not tomorrow. And yesterday is already past. So remember to really spend personal branding and don't really identify yourself with a company sometimes. Really build out your personal branding because that's something that it's going to be hold on forever with you. It's like language skills, right? You know to speak a certain language is going to be within you,
Yeah.
and nobody can take away from you. And that's the personal brand. A little bit of entrepreneur advice that I love that you brought out earlier when I'm talking about taking the leap of faith. One thing that you share is, taking chances in myself. And I hope that for whoever that is listening to your amazing podcast show today, really think about whether you're truly happy as well as whether you're taking a full chance in yourself. If you're looking into jumping from a side hustle to real full-time entrepreneur, go and do it. Why? Because you have nothing to lose, my friend. You just go and take a leap of faith. Let's say in 2 or 3 years down the road, you're going to be, not super successful. You can't make a living. How is it so difficult to go back to the job platform or career to find a full-time job? They are always constantly waiting for you, and there's 14K open jobs on LinkedIn, fully available for you, right? But why not taking the leap of faith today? So these are the two things that I really hope that will help your audience.
That's very great advice. And I think a lot of people can relate to it. I think in COVID, I actually had someone on the podcast that was like, if anyone had something they wanted to do, because COVID happened and it affected everyone, people lost jobs or whatever, it was kind of like now you had that almost like that excuse that you didn't have before, like, oh, COVID, you know what? Let me try to go do my own, make something, for myself. And I think you said a great point about asking yourself the question, are you really happy? Is this what you want to be doing for the next, 10, 20, 30 years? And like you said, try it. If hopefully it works out. If it doesn't, you can always go back, and get a job. Might not
Absolutely.
be exactly what you want, but you do have something, to go back to. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that. Salina, I wanted to say thank you
Hey.
so much for coming on the show today. This has been such a fun conversation. I think I've learned a lot about, LinkedIn and branding. And I think anyone listening to this who's either looking for a job, trying to, build a LinkedIn profile, or just get on LinkedIn and start, utilizing the platform and learning about entrepreneurship can take a lot from this. So thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And thank you. And thank you so much for having me. It has been a wonderful conversation with you, and I learned so much from you too, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much, guys. To everyone listening, Thank you for your time. Make sure to follow the podcast. Hope It Helps on Instagram. That's hope.it.helps with two S's. Check out Salina's work at the In Academy if you're looking for some coaching, want to build your business or your personal brand on LinkedIn. And as always, guys, hope it helps. Peace.